Kaylee Marshfield.
Just Callie.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Good evening. My name is Callie Marshfield, and I'm a resident of Monroe. I am coming here tonight to talk about medical freedom. So I have worked in this community as a healthcare professional for 12 years. About 2 years ago, my husband and I received the COVID vaccine. He is a soldier in the Army, and I'm a healthcare provider at the hospital. So even though we were, so we saw that the mandates were coming, and even though we were unsure of the safety of the vaccine, we decided to get it as we have 3 small children and we're not prepared to lose our jobs. However, we soon regretted making this decision. Initially, after the second shot, my husband spiked a fever and felt very ill. This feeling lasted for about a week, and his glands were swollen for about 3. We thought this was odd, but we didn't pay much attention to it. Until a few months later, when his hands started bothering him while we were moving out of our house. He was unable to lift the boxes without gloves because his hands were cracking and his knuckles were sore. Shortly after this, he went to his first weekend of warrant officer candidate school. During his PT test on the first day, he was struggling to complete push-ups, something that he has never struggled with. In fact, less than a year earlier, he was running 3 to 5 miles daily and lifting weights 5 days a week. At this point, we knew something was wrong, but we couldn't figure out what it was. It wasn't until he saw a dermatologist for a rash on his face that we found out he had an autoimmune disease called dermatomyositis, a very rare autoimmune disease that affects your skin, muscles, and can sometimes affect your lungs. This disease is so rare that if you had a football stadium full of people, only one person would have this diagnosis. In fact, in the last 12 years of my medical career, I've only treated one other person with this disease. And yet, in the same year that my husband was diagnosed, there was an increase of myositis diseases, and this was worldwide. Since his diagnosis, my husband has experienced muscle weakness, severe joint pain, and significant shortness of breath. With activity, he was put on oxygen and has had several pulmonary procedures. My very active husband struggles to complete simple tasks as he used to enjoy. I come before you tonight not to gander sympathy, but to talk about the struggle that we have had post-vaccine. Maybe if he had medical freedom to decide, our lives would look a little different. And now we have to worry about our children with these recommended vaccines. Forcing the people to take a drug that was not fully tested and nobody knew the side effects is the definition of government overreach. We need to stand up and stop this because I dread that day that they may choose something, what they would choose next.
Ms. Marshfield, your time's up, but are
Thank
you almost finished?
I'm
or-
done. I'm
Oh,
done. That was
okay.
it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next, we have Kathy Powers.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Powers, and I'm a resident of Waxhaw. My family and I just celebrated the 2-year anniversary of our moving from New York to North Carolina. Our reason for moving was very simple. My son wanted to go back to school, and he was not permitted to attend any school in the state of New York due to the repeal of his religious exemption for vaccination. And this was before COVID-19 wreaked havoc on our lives. So the topic of medical freedom is one that I am very passionate about. And if there is one silver lining to the last 3 years, it is that more and more people are opening their eyes and their mouths for medical freedom. What we also saw was how freedom over our bodies was attacked by politicians, employers, colleges, and universities. These people and institutions mandated experimental products while holding livelihoods and education over the heads of millions of people. And for what? I think we all know what their reasoning, that their reasoning was garbage. And they never, ever acknowledged the risks associated with said products. It's safe and effective, safe and effective, safe and effective. That's all we heard. That's all we ever hear in conjunction with the word vaccine. Guess what? The mandated products were not and are not vaccines. They don't prevent transmission and they don't prevent infection. Could you imagine what the reaction would be if every child who received the MMR vaccine then went on to become infected with measles, mumps, or rubella? Parents would go nuts. The MMR vaccine would immediately be pulled from the market and a huge investigation would take place. Why is this not happening with the why this is not happening with the COVID-19 vaccine is beyond me. HB 98 helps to protect bodily autonomy, my body, my choice. It allows people to do their own research on their own timeline and make their own decisions about the COVID-19 injections without the fear of losing their jobs, being denied education, and most importantly, having their religious view and beliefs being called into question. Because as we also learned during the past 3 years, religious exemptions were being denied without even being read. Blanket denials were rampant throughout our country. Religious beliefs were being questioned and civil rights were being trampled on. Discrimination was allowed and accepted in restaurants, sporting event venues, concert venues, and other public places, all under the guise of public health. As far as I am concerned, it was all under the guise of a lot of BS. I support HB 98, and I support the Union County Board of County Commissioners approving a resolution to support HB 98. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Richard Daunt.
Good evening. Richard Daunt, resident of Waxhaw. Tonight I'm here to ask that this board express support for NC House Bill 98, the Medical Freedom Act, co-sponsored by our local representatives David Willis and Mark Brody. Bills like this have become a necessity because of the pandemic of insane BS that medical bureaucrats have put us through in recent years. Driven by a campaign of lies and media terrorism, no restriction was too onerous for unthinking politicians and health experts to impose on us. Lockdowns, masks, school closures, experimental vaccines made mandatory, medical ethics went completely out the window. The last time we sunk this low was during World War II, the medical horrors of which inspired the creation of the Nuremberg Code, which stated that medical interventions should never be coerced. Informed consent. Thanks to present-day profit-driven public health propaganda, the vaccine injured are shunned and viewed with suspicion, as if the COVID vaccines are humanity's first perfect medicine. Here in Union County, we know these shots are far from perfect simply by comparing 2020 deaths to 2021 deaths. There were far more deaths in 2021, the year of the shot. Is that supposed to be a success? Instead of allowing each individual to make their own risk assessment, we had a one-size-fits-all approach to this shot, and consequently, young people who could not possibly benefit from it have been forcibly injured. House Bill 98 prohibits coercion and discrimination related to the COVID vaccines and is a good first step towards restoring medical ethics. So I hope that this board will support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Stephanie Dixon.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Dixon. I live in Indian Trail, and I am speaking out for medical freedom. You see, right now, I look like I am a nervous wreck, but in actuality, this is my everyday life. I stutter. I trip and fall. I shake all over. I have twitches that I cannot control. I have pain that I cannot even describe. It is often that I feel like I'm being electrocuted in my spine and that my brain is going to swell out of my skull. But I have nothing wrong. I'm told that it is not possible that my very first and only COVID vaccine shot could do this. that they've never heard of anything like this before. And I was even told that, well, at least now we know, and maybe we'll learn something from you. I get no treatment. I'm ignored. I face doubt every day. I can no longer drive. I can no longer enjoy my children. I have even been told while someone watched my blood pressure skyrocket and my heart rate jump more than 60 points for no reason, that is because I'm overweight and probably nervous, sitting in the doctor's office. I jump on the trampoline. I have been overweight since I was born. It's just me. It is how God made me. But it's also affected my brain. I went from making medicine and running a compounding lab for probably some of your grandchildren or children, heart medications. I have watched the medications that I made raise children to become adults for 16 years, and then I went to Atrium Health to make a difference. And I was treated like garbage. I no longer have a job. I can no longer do third grade math. Can you imagine going from making medications to heal heart patients and sick men and women, even pets, to no longer being able to help your child do her homework because I can't make sense, but nothing's wrong. It has come to a point, something's very wrong, but no one will help me. I need to take care of my family, my husband, who had to have...
Ms. Dixon, your time is up.
I apologize.
Continue.
I am wrapping up.
Continue.
I need to help my family. I need to work, but I cannot. And we need help, please. Just someone. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Brandy Smith.
Good evening. My name is Brandy Smith, and I reside in Marvin, North Carolina. I'm speaking to you tonight on behalf of Dr. Kristen Strange, pediatrician and resident of Union County of 25 plus years, and on behalf of North Carolina Physicians for Freedom, co-sponsors of HB 98. As medical professionals and pediatrician, I'm in agreement with the resolution to support NC House Bill 98, which prohibits state agencies, local governments, and political subdivisions of the state, as well as public schools, state, and local health departments, and their officials from discriminating against persons based on their refusal to provide proof of COVID-19 vaccination or submit to COVID-19 vaccination. I'm also in support of the sections in the bill that state governing bodies of public schools shall not adopt any policies regarding to use of face coverings, nor shall they quarantine healthy students. Putting any politics aside once and for all regarding these nonpartisan medical issues, it is now time for us all to learn from our mistakes in this particular pandemic, especially after more information and valid studies have become available, so that we never repeat these failed and at times detrimental policies to the future. Fact, face coverings and masking of children and the general public did not work to stop the spread of the virus, causing more harm than good, especially to children, and left us more vulnerable to other infectious disease through contaminated mass surfaces so close to our nose and mouth. Fact, isolation and social distancing did not work to stop the spread of the virus and caused untold harms to us both individually and as a society, especially psychologically, physically, and mentally, resulting in seemingly irreparable family and societal divisions. Facts, the still experimental COVID-19 vaccine failed. It did not stop the spread of the virus, it was not effective, and it is causing significant side effects, both short-term and yet to be determined long-term. especially for those children, teens, and young adults who had almost zero chance of severe COVID-19 disease even from the start of the pandemic. This was not a good strategy for vaccination nor prevention of disease. Given all the information we know now, it's time for this vaccine to be stopped and taken off the market immediately. The vast majority of us have now had COVID-19 infection, and it turns out natural immunity does work, and some studies suggest it is superior to current vaccines. As important as it is for physicians and other medical professionals to be able to practice medical freedom, to make the above statements and recommendations to their patients based on their individual healthcare needs without the fear of retribution from employers, state, and federal health licensing agency, it is of even more importance that each and every patient, every human being has absolute medical freedom. It is inconceivable to me that a bill such as HB 98 should even have to be crafted by our legislators, but the pandemic of COVID-19 showed us just how vulnerable we are to have many of our freedoms, especially medical freedoms, compromised. We must promote and allow medical freedom for us all. My highest regards to you in your role serving the citizens of Union County, North Carolina.
And Brandy, out of curiosity, is that your new baby back there?
Yes.
Would you like to introduce her to Union County?
I feel like she's already a
Well,
part
have
of
her
the
come
team,
up
so-
and introduce her, put her on camera. And by the way, we'll each need a turn holding her, right, board? Just pass her down.
And the pollen has my throat a mess today. So this is Ashton Greer. She's 8 weeks old as of Friday.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
I'm
it.
taking her home.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, unless there's an objection, I'd like to add an item to the agenda during the business portion regarding the potential adoption of a resolution in support of North Carolina House Bill 98, the Medical Freedom Act.
Okay. Any discussion on that? All those in favor of adding that item to the agenda?
Aye.
None opposed?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to also add an item to the agenda, and I would like for this to go first, a motion to appoint of a county manager as the first item on the business portion of tonight's agenda.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
One. Okay. And I would also like to add an item, a motion to add an item to the, in the business agenda, or to the end of the business agenda regarding the consolidation of the planning board and the board of adjustments. Any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
One. Okay, so we have first the county manager issue. Would you like to go with that, Vice Chairman Merrill?
Yes, after receiving approximately 30 applications from across the country for the position of county manager, I would like to make the motion to appoint Brian Matthews to serve as the Union County manager effective immediately in accordance with NCGS 153A-81 and 153A-82. And item 2, authorize the legal counsel to negotiate an employment contract with Mr. Matthews for consideration and approval by the board at a future meeting.
All right, motion's been made. Any discussion on the motion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
One. Okay, next, let's do HB 98, the resolution for HB 98. Commissioner Brian Helms.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the resolution in support of North Carolina House Bill 98, the Medical Freedom Act.
Okay. And any discussion on that motion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if I may. I'm pleased to see that our state representatives, Mark Brody and David Willis, have sponsored North Carolina House Bill 98. It's called the Medical Freedom Act. And as we entertain this resolution tonight, other counties in our region are voting on similar resolutions supporting this bill. As many of you know, this is a topic that resonates with me. It resonates with me because, like so many others, it's affected my family. Much like those that spoke tonight, I've stood at that podium as well, and many others in this county at multiple county boards For over 2 years, I've spoken against these unconstitutional mandates on masks, vaccinations, and also medical liberty. Tonight, it's going to be no different. This bill prohibits medical discrimination for those that refuse the COVID-19 vaccination. To be clear, this is not discrimination based on race or gender or even religious beliefs, but discrimination based on a refusal to receive an experimental drug. Yet in the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, citizens of our county, our state, and our country faced unprecedented medical discrimination and the loss of many personal liberties. Some of them, like our medical providers that we heard from tonight, and many others are still facing this today. Many of our citizens have had to make difficult choices. For some, the choice was to receive a COVID-19 vaccination or lose their livelihood, their ability to provide for their families. For others, it could have been a decision to place a mask on a child so they could simply go to school. As we heard from some of the speakers tonight, these choices came with unforeseen consequences. For some, they not only lost their liberty, their freedoms, but also their health and their way of life. I've said this before and I'll say it again, that healthcare is not a one-size-fits-all, and to mandate experimental vaccinations or to continue or even gain employment or go to school or even simply go to the grocery store is nothing more than medical extortion. It's been said that if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. In all honesty, our state representatives shouldn't have to introduce a bill to protect our liberty to make our own personal choices regarding our health care for ourselves and for our children. But if we've learned anything over the last 3 years, we should have learned how fast our liberty and our freedoms can be taken away. I've read the entire text of HB 98, all 3 pages. Is it perfect? The answer is no, it's not perfect. No bill ever is. Just this weekend, I spoke to one of the co-sponsors of this bill, Representative Mark Brody, about some small changes that I felt would widen the scope of it. I like to look at this kind of like playing baseball. In baseball, you can't hit a home run every single time that you step up to the plate. Sometimes you got to get some runners on base. This bill is a step. It's a step in protecting the citizens of Union County and the rest of our state against unconstitutional mandates and government overreach. This bill will not undo the harm that's already been caused to some men, women, and children. It won't magically restore the health of some of the speakers who addressed us tonight. It won't give back time at school for children that were unnecessarily quarantined. It will, however, ensure that our freedoms are better protected in the future. Before I was elected to office, I made a promise to stand against unconstitutional mandates and to do everything I can to protect the individual freedoms of the citizens of this county. Tonight, I stand against these discriminatory policies regarding COVID-19 that have not only affected us but also our children. And I also stand in support of this bill, and I ask my fellow commissioners to stand with me and use what little authority we have to help protect our residents and support this resolution. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other comments? I'd like to make a comment myself on it, and I will be supportive of the resolution. I remember when COVID first started and people were out of school, and I was listening to NPR, which is not something I make a habit of, but sometimes I like to watch something to make me a little angry. And I listened to a child that was not looking through a political lens, but this was a child who was well educated and had studied the virus, the COVID-19 virus. And that child said, this looks like it was created to do the most damage in a human body as possible. Now, it wasn't 30 minutes earlier in that same broadcast that a person probably in their 20s or 30s said, oh, no, it's definitely not created. But yet we've done more to punish our citizens, and the government has done more to punish citizens, and the employers in this county have done more to punish citizens than ever was done to punish the people who now we have found out, and the media is admitting to, created this virus in a lab. So I'm absolutely in support of this, and we need to learn that our children's future is important, that our jobs and our economy is important, And I'm proud to say that Union County Board of Commissioners did not vote to shut Union County down. It was forced upon us at a higher level. So with that, I will definitely be supporting the motion, and thanks to all the speakers tonight for their stories of what they have had to go through. Any other comments? All those in favor of the resolution say aye.
Aye.
None opposed. Okay, last we have the Planning Board, Board of Adjustments, potential merger of those, consolidation of those two boards. Reason that I asked for this item to be added to the agenda is that, you know, a lot of our municipalities are concerned about donut holes, areas around their towns that they would like to determine how they're developed. And it's been a point of contention with the county and some of these municipalities over time. I heard the term ETJ again mentioned the other night, which if these landowners and the developers understood that it might be beneficial for them to annex into these municipalities, to let the municipality give them the services and the zoning that they want. The desire is that the Union County Planning Board become less busy, not more busy. And our Board of Adjustments is already infrequently meeting, correct, Manager?
That's correct.
So with that, would like to start the process to determine if the public's interested in those two boards merging. So the motion is to direct staff to begin preparing a text amendment that consolidates the Planning Board and the Board of Adjustments into one board with both functions. Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner
Thank
Davis.
you. I am against this concept of combining boards. I think it would be a mistake. It's rarely done, very infrequently done among the larger and mid-sized counties in the state. We're among the top 10 counties in the state of North Carolina, and there's not a single one that has a combined board, and I think for good reason. If you look at the top 30 counties, there's only one county that does it this way. And I think, you know, the reasons for that are as follows. One, they're two very different boards that operate very differently. The Board of Adjustment is basically a judicial, what's called a quasi-judicial board. So they take evidence, they make quasi-judicial decisions, they swear in witnesses, they have a record, and their decisions can get appealed to county superior courts. And that's very different from what the Planning Board does, which is largely advisory, advising on rezonings, advising on ordinance changes, comprehensive planning, that sort of thing. And I don't think it's a good idea to combine those two functionalities. I mean, do we really want a essentially judicial entity, a judicial board, also making recommendations on ordinance changes or rezonings? I mean, that tends to, I think, confuse what should be clear. Also, I think there's a principle of separation of powers that is a very good principle at our federal level and our state level and even the level of local government. You know, we've got, we're not, you know, in short supply of volunteers who are willing to step up and do these important jobs. So why don't we just keep what is not broken and maintain separate boards? That's my 2 cents on it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other discussion on that?
I'll just say this, that generally, you know, I favor more of an approach of limited government. And, you know, I was watching one of the planning board meetings, this is back months ago, and they were talking about how it came up with 9 members. And it goes back to historically, there were you know, certain districts, if memory serves me correct, and those are no longer in even used for.
Would that be the townships?
Perhaps, yeah. My memory is a little bit foggy on that, but I believe that there was certain districts that were used. Bottom line is that I think that at some point we have to look at making government more efficient and limited, and I think that this would be a step in the right direction, so I'll be in support of the motion.
Melissa, you have anything? And I would say that, you know, I would agree with Commissioner Williams in most counties that, you know, are large. But in Union County, we've got 14 municipalities, each with their planning and boards of planning boards and how they want to grow. And a lot of times our planning board just gets caught in the middle of that because of these donut holes that people complain about. And that's why ETJ's put out so much. So the goal would be, again, to get the developers to look at the Union County Planning Board as, you know, if you look at a map of Union County and all the places that are in municipalities, it's very close to half, if not half, of the county is in a municipality. So the people on the eastern side of the county where there's very few municipalities or they're consolidated along 74, you know, those folks just don't come up very much for rezonings. We don't have sewer. We don't have the utilities to make a lot of that possible. It's usually for a little small commercial project on a septic tank. So again, the goal would be to get those developers and the landowners to negotiate with the local municipalities to be able to take them in. I think that would make the municipalities happier. I think that would make the utilities happier that they didn't have to try to expand across the world to make something happen, that they can get this all done within that the confines of that municipality. So I would ask again that my fellow board members support the motion. I think we need to hear from the public, and there'll be input from other places, and this just starts the process. So with that, I'll call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
No.
3-1. Okay, now we are at the end, and we don't necessarily need to say interim manager comments anymore. Now it will be the county manager comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I do want to thank the board for the confidence in me to make me the manager. I appreciate that, and I will do my best to be open, transparent, and certainly bring forth the items that you want to see accomplished as far as the county goes. I do want to say something, and I believe most of the staff may be aware of this. Today, Deputy County Manager Michelle Lancaster submitted her notice to me that she intends on retiring at the end of March of this year. She's taking a job here, still in Union County, not in local government, one that's of her passion, and I appreciate that. But I just wanted to say that, you know, it's hard to imagine Union County without Michelle. But we are so grateful for all the time that we've had together. She has had such a positive impact on this management team and the county, and I just want to wish her well. I know she's got until the end of March, but I did want to say that it has been an honor and a privilege to work with you, Michelle. That's all I have.
Commissioner David Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just briefly want to, and I've endeavored to respect Commissioner Richard Helms's privacy, but you know, many have noticed that this is his second meeting that he's missed, and all I'll say is that he's been ill, he's recovering, and I would invite folks just to keep him in prayer and his family in prayer as he recovers from illness. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Brian Helms.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, thank you, Ms. Lancaster, for your service to Union County. We really appreciate what you've done for the county over the years, and certainly wish you well on your next endeavor. I'd like to thank the speakers that showed up tonight. We heard some very touching comments from the folks that signed up for informal comments, and I want to express my gratitude for them to come here tonight and share their stories. I would also like to thank my fellow commissioners for standing in support of the resolution to support House Bill 98. I believe that this is a great step for not only our county but also our state. And thank you to the staff. I'm excited to work with our new county manager, Brian Matthews. Wish him well in his new role, and that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Melissa Merrill.
So I spoke to Michelle earlier today, and I told her I was very torn on wishing her congratulations. It sounds like a dream job and a perfect fit for you and your family, but you're going to be very, very missed, and I'm very, very disappointed. I only got four months to work with you, but did have the opportunity over the last 8 years to do some really, really great things together in Union County, specifically around the schools. And I just want to say thank you for your many years of service. And but I'm going to make you keep your promise from what you told me we'd get together. So, and I still need to have time with Nick. So, and I want to say congratulations to Brian Matthews, our new county manager. As I said earlier, we received about 30 really good applications, but none compared to what I know you'll be able to do as our county manager, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you.
All right, and I would also, ask that people keep Commissioner Richard Helms in their prayers for speedy recovery. Michelle, I've got a favorite movie that I watch where they're going to eat a snake, and I'm getting somewhere. And they ask, what part do you think I'm about to eat? And the guy says, or the woman says, I think you're going to eat the knee. And when I think about Union County, you've been the heart. You've been a heart in Union County. You bring feelings back to some of our decisions, and you brought a lot of things home. And I'd like to also congratulate Brian on the manager position, and I know that you'll do a great job. And you've, as I go to different municipalities around the county, as I talk to different people in different industries, Brian has a universal respect for his honesty and for his good dealings with people. And I just want to congratulate you on that. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.